On this week's show, the 5 ways to create passive income.
In the news, house prices have surged by 5.9%, the biggest rise ever in a single month.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Do you know what? I'm not going to talk about teeth this week.
No teeth.
No
So
teeth.
we're not going to go into teeth.
No, I'm not even going to mention my teeth.
Not
What I'm
gonna
going to talk about,
show teeth.
No, I'm going to show them. Not going to show them. What I'm going to talk about this week is actually a property-related thing that I did this week.
Okay.
I moved house.
Oh, okay, you did, didn't you?
Yes.
How did that go?
What would you mean?
How did it go? Did it go well? Did it go bad? It's freaking hard, is it?
Well, it just went. It went.
More importantly, did you bring a toothbrush?
I brought a toothbrush, of course,
Okay.
to look after my
Teeth.
No, it went.
Did you have a removal company do all your moving about, or did you hump everything around? That's a very straightforward question, is that not?
It's a very straightforward answer. I had a removal company.
Oh, then what was the delay for?
The delay was for, like, are you serious?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're not going to fit that in your Porsche, are you? You're not going to fit the sofas in your Porsche.
Well, would you even consider not using a removal company?
Some people do, yeah. Some people just.
Would you
hire
even
a
consider
van.
not using a removal company? It's a very simple question.
Oh no, I would always use a removals company, or somebody else that I know. But I personally wouldn't be doing it now.
No. Of course I used a removal company.
Good
Yeah,
man.
although I was only moving about 5 minutes
Oh, that's not too far.
away. And my mate works for a removal company.
Ah, so you got it cheap. So, how's the
I
new
actually got it
house?
for free,
Oh, did you?
but I paid him anyway.
Cool. So, how is the new property, the new house?
Great. Yeah, it's really nice. It's
Bigger, smaller? What we done? Upsized, downsized?
It's. I think it's probably a little bit smaller.
Okay.
Probably a little bit smaller. Yeah. But it's in a nicer area.
So it's just a 7-bedroom instead of a 9-bedroom.
No.
Extra bedroom for the maid.
What is this? What is this? No, it's just a 4-bedroom.
Okay, same as me.
Is it?
4-bed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice. It's an old farmhouse.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
And my old house.
No,
was
you
also
like
an old
you like
farmhouse.
old rustic houses, don't you?
I do.
You don't like modern houses, do you?
No, I do, but I like old houses as well. But I like varying it. That's why I like renting. I rent, by the way, just in case I have never mentioned. So I rent where I live, and the reason I'm sure I've told you this before.
Can you clarify that? Because so many people at the crash course at the weekend were asking me why you rent. Honestly,
Okay.
I got asked about 4 or 5 times.
Okay, cool. What they went? Why does Russell rent?
Yeah, they were asking.
Did you say
when
I'm
I
not Russell?
No. Well, yeah. Well, anyway. So
They see you and go, dude, you've like put on weight and like you're losing your hair and
Yeah.
why do you rent?
No. They were obviously people I saw at the crash course were like, "Oh, where's Russell?" And after he's in Germany, and then we just got chatting, and they were asking. I had several people ask, "Why is it Russell rents and doesn't actually buy where he lives?"
Okay, let me explain why.
If you wouldn't mind, that
I
clear it
will.
up.
I'm very happy to clear it up. Okay. The first question is: if you're going to buy property,
Yeah.
you're going to buy property as an investment.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you're not buying it as an investment, if you're just buying it, well, there you go. You buy it as an investment, yeah? That's
Yeah.
my first point. So if you're going to buy an investment property, you're smarter to buy a property that is actually an investment,
Yeah.
i.e. using formulas, one that will give you a good return on your investment, rather than buying one that you like.
Yeah.
So if you limit it to buying one that you actually like, chances are it's not going to be a good buy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. Second thing, people go, "Oh, rental money, it's throwing money down the drain." Yeah, but so is interest rates. That's also
rates, yeah.
throwing money down the drain. So I would rather spend money buying investment properties that are giving me cash flow, that give me a much higher cash flow than it would be that's saving me by renting myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
I'm
does
not
to me.
explaining it very well, but
No,
I'm
no,
sure,
I get it.
I'm not wording it very well. I'm sure it makes sense. So, and that's the first reason. The other reason is that house prices tend to be like, you might get a start house price at say 40 grand.
Yeah.
And then, it goes up to like millions, yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas rental income tends to be a lot smaller. So like a 40 grand house might rent out for 500 quid.
Yeah.
But a 100 grand house might rent out for 550 quid.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make such a big difference. So, in the house that I live in now, the mortgage payments on it would be more if I bought that exact house than I'm paying on for rent. So it's actually cheaper as well. So it saves me money. It allows me to invest in stuff that's giving me an asset. Now, when people say to me like, "Oh, so you," some of my friends go, "Oh, so I shouldn't buy me a house, I should rent where I live." Yeah, assuming that you're buying something. So what I'm not suggesting is you don't invest and you just rent. If you're going to do that, then you might as well buy where you live.
Yeah.
But I would say at some point I will buy.
So just hypothetically, right?
And there's one more reason.
Go on.
The other reason is I get bored really quickly and I like moving around. So I've moved house. I've got a 4-year-old daughter who's lived in 4 different houses.
Oh, wow. Cool. So another thing.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, how much is the house you live in worth?
The house I live in now, about 600,000.
Right, so it's about 600k. If you were to buy that on a standard mortgage, how much deposit would you have to put into that?
Well, you'd be putting in...
Not 80%? Sorry, you get an 80% loan to value, or maybe 85%. Like so say you got about £100,000 as a deposit.
Yeah.
Now that money is effectively tied up in that property.
Correct.
So you can then use that money to buy investments.
Correct. But also, right, what would your mortgage payments be on that?
Well, I'll tell you. I've got a mortgage calculator on my phone. I don't need the mortgage calculator. I have a mortgage calculator here, if I can find it. There. So it would be. So you'd have to put, say your. Wow. So that's a lot. Hold on, let me just add that. So if you put, say, 120,000 into a 600,000 house, you'd have a mortgage of around 470. At 4%, which is repayment. 2,500.
What's just interest only?
Interest only would be 1,500.
Right, that is about the same as what I'm paying in rent.
Wow.
So you say you're blowing money away, but you're not. Just as the same as your interest payments, but then I've got all that money tied up in something that's not making me any money at all.
And then the equity, the money you would use for your deposit, you can obviously just use to buy a couple. You could buy like 3 or 4 rental properties with that.
That are bringing the money that's covering what you're having your rent by. And then some.
And you've got 4 properties making capital appreciation.
Rather than one.
Yeah.
So when you actually think about it, you'd be an idiot. If you're an investor, you'd be an idiot to buy.
Yeah.
You'd be an idiot to own where you live. So where do you rent?
How did I know he was going to say that? I don't. I own my home.
Ooh.
Awkward. Guilty.
Awkward.
Yeah, awkward.
Sorry, I didn't realise that.
Yes, you did. You douchebag. Yeah, no, it's let's just shuffle them papers and then.
I'm not saying you're an idiot.
No, you're not.
You are.
Listen,
we're kind of are together.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. I don't mind. I appreciate that I potentially should be renting.
What you should do? I mean, don't necessarily. I think you should probably at least remortgage your house.
Yeah, we've got a lot of equity in the house.
Can you believe this?
I want to sell it. I want to sell it soon.
Sell it,
rent somewhere, but I'm trying to persuade the missus. So anyone that sees my missus, just try and persuade her from me. Samuel's had a right good, and you have had a right old good go at trying to persuade my wife to move closer to the office.
It's stupid, isn't it?
I'm sorry, guys. I'm a bit hypocritical here. I do agree with the whole principle.
But he would do it. He's not allowed, is the thing.
I would do it, but is
that why you get a ball patch? Is that a thumbprint?
Thumbprint.
Is it? Let's have a look. Listen forward. That is a thumbprint.
No, not at all. It's part of. It was my agreement with the missus when I got into property that we wouldn't sort of jeopardize our home. Anyway, let's move on. Can you do something with him?
No, no one can. That's the thing. Anyway, first point. After you should obviously rent where you live if you're a property investor. Yep. First point. He's getting hot. He's getting sweaty. He's getting stressed.
Getting stressed.
5 ways to make passive income. Yep. Right. So Samuel did a little video. 5 ways to make passive income. So first of all, let's find out what those 5 ways are, and then we'll blast into it. So Nick, can you play the video?
So before I tell you where you can make passive income from in property, let me just explain to you what passive income is, because most people, they're not taught about passive income. If you know what it is, it's because you're self-educated. Because I mean, in my book, Buy Low, Rent High, which, by the way, if you've not read, you really should read this. I say, when I was at school, if I'd have told my teachers that I wanted to be a property investor, they would have said that it was risky. They would have told me that if I wanted to guarantee success, I needed to follow their system. And I'm sure you're familiar with their system. I call this the 7 lies. Because all my life, probably all your life, we were told by the government, by our school teachers, by our parents, this sort of stuff. I call this the 7 lies. 1, study hard at school, as it's important you get good grades. 2, go on to university if you want to be paid well. 3, get a good job for life. 4, if you buy a house, pay off the mortgage as quickly as possible. 5, save as much money as you can to store away safely in the bank. 6, the harder you work, the more money you'll make. And 7, look forward to retirement because that's the good life. You've probably heard that. That is such nonsense. That is the opposite of passive income. That is the opposite of financial freedom. That's called being a slave to a job forever. And we know what a job stands for. Jump out of bed on a journey of boredom to be just over broke. Working 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire on 40% of what we couldn't afford to live on in the first place. To begin to get your mind around the new way of thinking, which is passive income, which is financially freedom, I say these are the 7 truths. 1, most people do not benefit from good school grades. Oops, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe you're offended right now, but hey, this is it. 2, most people who finish university still struggle to get a job. I know so many people who, when I invested in myself and went and started going on property courses, I'm like 17, 18 years old, they laughed at me. They went to university. And after finishing university, after 4 years of spending like £50,000 on university, they couldn't even get a job. It's sad, but it's true. Number 3, a good job for life doesn't exist. 4, paying off the mortgage quickly is not smart. 5, your money is shrinking in the bank. 6, some of the poorest people are the hardest workers. I know that because I've been out in the slums of India and the rural parts of Africa. And 7, if retirement is your motivation, you will be extremely disappointed. What is passive income? Passive income is when you work once and you get paid forever. Active income is when you work once and you get paid once. Therefore, you have to keep working to keep getting paid. You're trading your time and your energy, you're trading that for money. Whereas passive income, do something once, invest in something once, and you're getting paid ongoing. When your passive income equals your living expenses, you're financially free. Not necessarily rich, but you don't have to work again and again because your passive income covers your lifestyle. So there's different ways to make passive income. You can make passive income from network marketing, from automated online affiliate schemes and all different things, vending machines, advertising spaces. There's different ways to make passive income. But I believe that the best way to make passive income is through property investing, or if you're in America, real estate. Why is that? It's because it's bricks and mortar. You can touch it, you can feel it. Not only does it give you an income, a passive income, but also you've got an asset that's going to appreciate over time. So that's why I love property so much. Also, if you go on the Sunday Times rich list, you'll see that all the people that are rich, that are making good money, they all invest in property. There's a common denominator and it's property. So here's the 5 ways that I make passive income from property, and I think you should be too. Number 1 is buy to let. Buy to let is just simply when you buy residential houses, family homes, and you rent them out. People always need to live in them. You will always get an income from them, and that is called buy to let property investing. It's fantastic. It's very bread and butter. Number 2 is HMOs. If you want to lift the cash flow a little bit, HMOs, great way to earn passive income. That's when you rent a house of multiple occupation out. So you rent it out on a room by room basis to young professionals or to students. You get a higher income with the right management systems in place. That is a very, very healthy form of passive income. Number 3, serviced accommodation. I've done videos about serviced accommodation. You can check them out just above. Serviced accommodation is almost like a hotel with no staff. It's when you rent out a property, an apartment, a house, but you rent it out serviced accommodation on things like Airbnb, Booking.com. You have guests instead of tenants. Now this needs to be managed and systemized properly, otherwise it's not passive income. But when it is managed and systemized properly, it will give you probably the highest form of cash flow and passive income that any of the other strategies will give you. Serviced accommodation is a minefield. You need to get the right training to do it properly, but it's a fantastic way that we make very, very high passive income. Number 4, commercial property. We invest in commercial properties. I'm just in the process of buying a 1.5 million commercial unit at the moment. The great thing about commercial property is there's real tax advantages to buying commercial. You save on stamp duty. You can buy it through a SAS, so your pension can invest in property. Also, the tenant tenants are usually very, very long term. They'll sign 15-year leases and they will be responsible for the maintenance of the property. So it's completely passive. I would recommend probably starting out with residential, but once you've got a nice property portfolio already, definitely start considering commercial. Lastly is a property business. You could set up a sourcing company, which is where you find properties and pass them on to investors. People say the problem is with a sourcing company is it's active income. You make massive income, but not passive income, because you can find a property a day and pass it to an investor and make $3 grand a day. Brilliant, but it's active. True until you turn it into a business, which is when you have staff. Some people are really scared of staff. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't want any staff. Listen, if you want to get very wealthy, you want to be able to have the lifestyle where you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want, then there's nothing wrong with having staff. Again, do it properly, make sure you have the right contracts and you do it properly. But if you have a property business and you have staff, it's true passive income and it can be passive and massive. But first steps is to become financially free. Before you start thinking about taking on loads of staff, how do you become financially free? Read the books, attend the classes and the seminars, and implement the knowledge.
Okay, so there you've heard it there. They are the 5 ways that you can make passive income through property. So number 1, buy to let.
Yeah, it's single lets.
Easy,
safe.
Yeah.
You're going to have the lowest occupancy rate. You're going to have the lowest void periods because people are in there for a decent length of time.
Not out of that list.
Oh, not out of that list, but certainly start again then.
No, you can sort of say it. You can get it wrong. You've got it wrong most of the show. We don't mind. So
okay. So buy to lets, you're going to have lower void periods than say HMOs, but it's a very safe way.
Okay, are you though? Again.
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
I think 100%.
Oh, I don't. Well, it depends what you mean by void.
Fine. Okay, your property in your first ever house. How long have your tenants been there?
That's just one example.
But that's fine. That's an example. How long your tenants been there?
9 years.
End of conversation.
It's not end of conversation.
Of course it is. Like, so for instance, my HMO around the corner in Wolverhampton, I've had the property up and running for 6 months. I've had 2 tenants leave and then had to be replaced.
Yeah. So is your house void?
The house is not void at the minute.
But has it ever been void?
No,
since you started getting tenants.
No, not really.
So that's my point. With a HMO, you got 4 tenants. Even if one leaves, you still have 3.
Yeah, but they come. Okay, fine. Let's reword this then. You have a longevity of tenants. So you have longer tenants in the sense of they stay there longer. In the
sense of they're taller?
No, they stay there longer. So for instance, what's the average occupancy time for somebody in a HMO?
I don't
well, according to
from my experience,
yeah,
9 months.
Yeah, I was going to say the rooms to let who manage my HMOs, they've always said between 9 and 12 months. Whereas a standard single let buy to let property, you've just said you've had tenants for 9 years. I know friends of mine have got.
I also said that I've moved house 4
times in 4 years. Yeah, that's true. But I have a lot of friends that would definitely say that single lets, you tend to have the longest staying tenants.
I don't dispute that. I'm just being a bit of an argumentative dick.
You're just being a bit argumentative today. It's because we've this is like we've had a bit of a break, and
I get a bit overexcited.
Yeah.
Okay. So buy to let's pretty easy.
Yeah. Easy,
straightforward. Straightforward. You know what they are. Based on what I said earlier.
Yeah.
By the way, just to prove your argument wrong, 9 years end of conversation. You've said I've moved out. Well, it makes it sound worse than it is. 4 times in 4 years. It's not actually quite true because we were in the process of moving when she was born. So she lived in the first house for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And then we'd been there for like 5 years.
Cool.
So it's not quite true, but it just shows that people do move. Anyway, buy to let's pretty easy, standard. Yep. But what I would say is, based on what we were saying earlier about the rental income versus the interest, is it's better to buy a cheap property than it is to buy an expensive property.
Yeah. Because the rent doesn't increase massively, does it?
A lot of the time, no.
Like, for instance, in the Midlands, what's the average house price, say, in West Midlands? For a 3-bedroom...
200 grand?
Really?
Is it less?
I think it's a bit less.
Is it?
Like, you can buy like a 3-bedroom terraced, whatever, for like maybe 160, 170.
Okay, 170.
And you rent that out for what, 700? Whereas you could probably buy 2 80 grand houses in a slightly cheaper area for like... in Liverpool for 80 grand each, whatever, and rent them out for 550, 600.
Yeah.
So I would rather have 2 spread your risk a little bit more.
Plus, then you've got two that are going up in value rather
yeah,
than one. Yeah, it makes sense. So buy to let, pretty easy, pretty standard. Everyone knows it. Go for a cheaper property and make sure you know what the rental income is going to be. You can get, because we do this exercise. If you haven't been to the Property Investors Crash Course, we teach people how to find a good buy to let, and we actually get people finding deals there and then, and we teach them how to work out the return on investment and all that sort of stuff.
We do, yeah.
You can get pretty good 20%, 25%.
There's some areas where you can get ridiculously high. Like in at the last Crash Course, there was a guy found a property up in it's back into Glasgow. I think it was Hamilton. Right, it was like £55,000, and it was tenanted with a long-standing tenant paying £620 a month.
Yeah, it's in Scotland though.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's good. 50 grand house getting 600 and whatever pound a month.
Anyway, next number 2, HMO.
Yep.
So HMO, if you don't know what HMO is, I'm sure you will do. It stands for House Multiple Occupation. Oh.
That's what it stands for.
It just stands for that, yeah.
House of Multiple Occupation.
If I could talk, I'd make a much better host on this show.
Nah, you do well.
It'd be quite useful. So what that would be is, you're renting it out room by room.
Yeah.
This has been popular now for a little while.
Yeah. More complicated than single lets because you've got licensing issues to worry about and things like that. You have to have fire safety, all that sort of stuff. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just more complicated. Tenants are generally harder to find than single lets.
Would you say?
Yep.
I would say they're harder to keep. They're not harder to find. Certainly harder to get good tenants.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah,
it's quite easy to get bad tenants.
It's very easy to get bad tenants. And what are the downfalls from HMOs?
You've got to pay for the bills.
Yeah.
Typically, so
higher wear and tear, I think.
Yeah, a bit more complicated, a little bit more, but it's pretty good. You'll make more money from it.
For instance, I've got one of my tenants whinging at me at the minute because the internet's not very good. He's saying the internet's a bit slow. And he's even texted me. I won't tell you who the tenant is, but he's even texted me and asked me if I can have the adult the child lock removed so he can.
I was about to say you get that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Because he wants to watch like 18 films, obviously horror films.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. On. No. Okay. Number 3.
Service accommodation.
Talked
about that last week.
In depth last week.
Yeah.
Turning your house into a hotel.
I would say that's not really passive though. It's quite an active, unless you have it completely systemized, in the sense of you've got people doing all your.
Well, I would argue that none of these are passive. Really. Unless you're paying someone to do it for you.
Yeah.
So
okay, let's just assume that we're paying somebody to do it. So yes, they are passive. But yeah, you need to. SA I would say is the hardest out of all three of them. Mm-hmm. It'll make the most money, but it is definitely the hardest, I think.
Yeah. Now this next one, which when you said about voids, truly is about as passive as you're going to get. Commercial property. Yeah. Sign someone up for a nice 50-year.
Well,
20-year lease, 10-year lease.
My brother has just signed up for a shop. He's a barber. He's got barber shops. He just. Don't look at my hair. He didn't do my hair. He's a barber. He's got barber shops, and he's just signed up for another shop. And so he's got it's on a 5-year lease.
How many shops has he got?
He's got 3 now.
Where are they all?
All down in the Northampton and.
And you don't go to. He's got 3 barber shops in your city. You don't go to it.
Well, I go to him. I go to him personally.
Oh. So when I looked at your hair, with like, ooh.
I've not been recently because he's busy and I'm busy. But anyway, so he's just signed up a new shop, and it's a 20-year lease, but they've got a 5-year break clause. So essentially, that landlord's getting rent for the next
at least 5 years, maybe 20
at least 5
years.
years, but maybe 20 years.
And the great thing is about commercial is unlike we talked last week about in the news that landlords could sue. Sorry, not landlords. Tenants could sue the landlords if it was cold or damp and stuff like that. With commercial. You basically just go, well, look, you got to sort it, mate. You know what I mean?
It's your problem.
If it depends what's in your contract. There can be certain things that your responsibility, but pretty much it's like, if the roof caves in, you've got to pay for it. You know, so that's pretty. From a passive income point of view, it's pretty.
And it's high profit as well, isn't it? Because there's no bills, there's nothing involved.
The return on investments tends to not be quite as high.
Yeah, because they're quite expensive to buy.
And you've got to put more money in on a commercial mortgage. But, from a passive income point of view, it is the way to go. It's where a lot of people like Lord Sugar and people like that just dump their money
100%.
In commercial. And then the last one, again, it's going to fall under your argument here of this is not passive income. And it's been like, setting up a property business.
Okay.
So would you describe that as passive?
It depends. If it's systemized and you've got staff, then yeah, perhaps. Like, for instance, they take Better Source. That's a property business. It's not truly passive because I still spend a little bit of my time doing it. But I've systemized it, so I've got staff in place. But what I say is it's not passive, but it's massive. That's my saying.
Do you want to just say that again, just so I can like snigger and we can get another cut of it? Go.
Oh, yeah. It's not passive, but it's massive.
Is that the cheesiest thing you've ever heard?
You should have tried, didn't you, snigger?
Because I didn't find it funny.
Right,
I just
okay,
found
anyway.
it cheesy.
So it's not passive entirely, but it is. It's a good. It's great because I only spend probably half a day a week on that property.
Can you say it one more time?
No. But yeah, property business is property business. As long as you systemize it as much as possible, then yeah, it's semi-passive. But I'll say that out of all of these, that is the least possible. That is the least passive of them. Wouldn't you say?
I've run a few businesses where I've got them passive enough where I just need half an hour a month just to have a chat with the staff.
With the staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've had a few businesses where I've got them down to about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't, but it's always harder in the early days.
Yeah.
So when you're setting it up, you have to put a lot of the work in, setting up the systems. Every time you start a new business, it's...
So, out of all of these, which one would you say is the most passive, and which one do you say is the least passive?
I would say, if I had to put them in order of passiveness...
Yeah. Passiveness, yes.
It's a new word created by me. If you see it in the dictionary, credit Russell Leeds came up with passiveness. I would say commercial is probably
the best,
the most passive. Nuss. I would go commercial. Then if you get it right, business.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, they all can be very passive because if you just said to the letting agent, just sort it.
Yeah.
They can all be very passive.
So in fairness, like my HMOs, for instance, I have nothing to do with.
I would say SA was the least.
Yeah, I think SA is the least because it's most hands-on.
And they're still going to want to come to you with questions and stuff like that. I would say SA was the least. I would say the rest of it, you could get pretty damn passive with all of that, which is great.
So the best way to do is have a combination of everything.
I say even with passive income though, you always want to kind of oversee it, don't you? So if you've got a business, you still want to be looking at the monthly figures.
Yeah.
And you still want to be making decisions. And you still want to be... Whereas with commercial, once you've bought it, there's nothing really to it, is there?
Nothing to do, is there? You're not responsible for any of the maintenance, anything. You're not responsible.
So I would say that was probably the only one for me that was truly passive.
The only issue you'd have with commercial is if tenant stops paying your rent, you'd need to know about it.
Mm-hmm. But if you said to the agent, tenant stops paying the rent, chase them up, kick them out and get a new person in, technically you could be, how many of these could you be in a coma for 10 years and they would just carry on?
Good point, actually. Probably only commercial. Well, again, it depends how passive it is. Depends how much systemized you've got it.
It all does depend on the people you got in place.
I think we've said passive a lot today.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit passive now.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that
Should
point.
we passive this on?
It's now time for this. So in the news this week, property market defies Brexit.
Yeah.
Punchy. Yeah. With a 5.9% surge. So house prices have actually jumped the highest monthly rate ever.
That was quite interesting, really.
Ever.
I know.
I'm going to just keep saying ever until...
It's quite a good look.
That's like... That's amazing. That's amazing.
Phenomenal.
I mean...
Do you think... Wait, is that just is that an average across the country, or is that in a specific area in the country?
It's the highest since records began.
Wow.
Which I always find weird. Like, Like when is that? They said that in football. It's like since records began, and you look at it, it's like, oh, it's 2003. This is actually 1983.
Well, yeah, so it's pretty good.
When we suddenly decided that we better start taking note of stuff.
Yeah.
Before that, in the 60s and 70s, we just didn't care.
Well, so do you think that's a case of the boom before the bust, with Brexit looming?
I'm a little bit surprised, actually. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the headline, I was a little bit surprised. I was expecting a bit of a dip now. They say the reason is. Do you have a guess what the reason is?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the whole point of a guessing game. It tends
Okay.
if you know the answer. If I say have a guess what 2 + 2 is, and you go 4, it's not a guessing game. It's just pointless. That's the whole.
I would say with the influx of. No, actually, people are leaving the country. People are not coming to the country. It's got to be supply and demand, surely.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, shortage of homes. I was reading an article while we were looking for this article, which kind of related to this about shortage of homes, and what they're arguing for is that we should build 15 new towns around London.
Okay.
A bit like they did with Milton Keynes.
Right. Yeah.
In Greenbelt area.
Yeah.
And they want to build like 260,000 homes or something.
Okay.
So people can buy affordable housing and still commute into London.
Yeah. Well, that's there is already a lot of towns that have been done that, like Milton Keynes and a lot of places around Northampton, Kettering, Corby. They were all built for that reason.
Really?
Yep. They were all extended for that reason. So, like in Northamptonshire, Corby, it's the biggest building site essentially in the country. They're building up loads of homes there, and it's all because you can get direct access to London within an hour from the train line.
To be fair though, with HS2, you can get access to London within an hour from pretty much anywhere. I mean,
well, not really.
Well,
you can't get to London in an hour from Aberdeen, can you?
Well, not from another country, no.
Yeah, but that statement's wrong then, isn't it? So anywhere from within an hour, you can get to London within an hour, but not. Where's HS2 going?
Like all over the UK.
So it's not
all over the good part of the UK.
Okay, so it's going up the west coast, isn't it? Up towards Crewe, Manchester, neck of the woods. Never eat shredded wheat. That's what I do. Technical stuff here, guys. Never eat shredded wheat. Right, so it's going up the west coast, up towards Manchester.
Yeah, but like, for example, Crewe.
Yeah.
It's going to Birmingham. But the thing is,
okay, so fine. Okay, so answer this question right. To say that statement, you can get to London within an hour. So
I'm aware that statement isn't factually correct.
So from Birmingham to London is an hour.
Less.
Yeah.
What? Right. I'm gonna. I reckon. Right. Birmingham to London. I reckon 45 minutes.
Okay, but potentially. But therefore, you can't say that Manchester to London's an hour, can you?
Okay.
That's like 100 miles apart.
Manchester.
I'm going to be proved wrong here.
Manchester to London.
How far apart is Manchester and Birmingham?
HS2.
Like an hour and a half.
I reckon it's going to be with around about an hour.
I reckon
it's going to be around about an hour. So Birmingham to London is 49 minutes, and Manchester to London is 1 hour 8 minutes.
Yeah, so that's good.
And Birmingham to
so where else is HS2 going? Is it going further up than Manchester?
It's going to Leeds.
Is it going up to Leeds?
Yes, you got Leeds, you got Manchester, you got Crewe, you got Birmingham, all these places.
A lot of people are protesting HS2. I don't know why. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I don't really know why.
Maybe they're.
I think it's a waste of money.
Yeah. Oh well.
But it's better transport. It's like something that's going to be infrastructure in our country for years.
I mean, you've just come back from Germany. So what was the infrastructure like in Germany? What are the trains like in Germany?
Do you know what's not very good in Germany? From my experience, which shocked me. The 4G.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's all over Germany, but I drove like a 5-hour journey.
Yeah.
And I was using WhatsApp. And
Yep.
it kept cutting out a lot of the way, and I was just like, this wouldn't happen in England.
No.
You get it's like, and that shocked me because I would have thought they'd be more efficient.
Most European cities are like much better on internet.
Yeah,
than
I
we
mean, I
are,
was
aren't we?
driving like a long way, but even around Frankfurt, the 4G was like
rubbish.
And like Frankfurt is like their financial capital. I was just like, what is it with this? It just shocked me.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
So that's why house prices are up because of supply and demand.
Which is the reason why. It's why we're arguing. People ask about Brexit. Oh, it's going to. Well, no, it won't because the supply and there's not. We're on a small island.
It's going to be there. The demand's always going to be there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Suddenly, Britain is not going to empty. The people are not going to just leave Britain. It's that everyone wants to come to Britain.
Do you watch the Grand Tour?
I've seen some of them. What one are you on about specifically?
On the new series, so that they go over to Detroit.
Okay, I've not seen that one.
And there are houses you can buy in Detroit for like
Yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah.
And it's like a 4-bed
Well,
house.
It's just stupid, isn't it?
And it's $1,000. And there's like whole villages. And I say villages, it's not villages in the city, but there's whole suburbs that are just abandoned.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Like nobody lives there at
Like,
all, or
no
just
one
people
lives there.
freeloading?
Just no one lives there. It's just like streets of just empty houses. That would just never happen here.
You'd never see that. I mean,
There's places in Spain like it though as well.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
Italy and all.
where people have moved out to Spain to have their retirement and ended up, yeah.
So that's one of the beautiful things about
interesting,
investing
though.
in the UK. I just can't imagine that ever happening.
That is interesting though. That like there's whole towns that have been abandoned in America. Interesting.
I just think
when
when someone is going and buy the whole town,
yeah.
and then make it, you can buy the whole town for like $500,000.
Yeah.
It's like, and make it nice, and then if you can make it appealing, you own all these houses.
But the problem is, there's a reason why it's empty. Maybe people didn't want to live there in the first place, and they just abandoned it. Or is it a case
So
of
make it nice, make it a gated estate.
Well,
So
you
build a big wall. Oh, I'm sounding like Trump now.
build or keep yeah, I don't wanna say
Around
that,
it, a gated estate in the middle of Detroit. Put the houses. I don't know. But
Do
Detroit.
you know, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Detroit used to be one of the richest cities in the world.
Detroit is known as the motor capital of America.
Like 50
GM.
50 years ago
Yeah.
or something, it was like one of the, and now it's like one of the poorest.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I remember
America.
watching. Well, I've actually been there. When I go to Vegas often, I may have told you once or twice.
He's never mentioned to me being to Vegas.
Did you not know?
Where'd you go to Vegas? What'd you do? You don't play poker, do you?
Sometimes.
You don't win, do you?
Sometimes.
You go to Vegas and win at poker, and you've never mentioned it ever. That is that. I'm in
I'm
shock.
sorry, guys. I've let you down. I should really keep you informed. Of this sort of
I
stuff.
reckon you should tell me at least once a week from now on.
Okay,
but thank you
I'll
for
do
bringing it
that.
up this
no
week.
Worries,
anyway.
no worries. I'll let you know. Anyway, last time there's outside on the outskirts of Vegas and in the desert when you're driving, there's abandoned towns. Literally, they're just ghost villages. Like they've got like taverns, whole houses, everything, loads, just empty, nothing there, and it's bizarre. It's actually quite creepy.
It is creepy.
Well, creepy.
Just turn it into like a paintball.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
That would be
We
pretty
should
cool.
go paintballing. We can have a company that works day out paintballing in summer.
That'd be fun.
It'd be fun.
That would be fun. But my point is, anyway, is that in England,
Yeah.
we've kind of waffled on a bit about that. I
That's
hope you
fine.
found it
Should
a
we
little
get-
bit interesting.
should we get back
But
to
the
the
point
news?
is that in England, I don't think that could happen.
No, I don't
So I
know
think
what
there's not enough space
No.
for that, unless something. If that happened, they would be having to something so terrible like a war or something that we wouldn't be worried about our investment properties.
No.
So I don't think that's going to happen.
But it's good that house prices have gone up. I do think they're going to dip a little bit when Brexit finally happens.
Look,
if it
I'm
happens,
sure
and we'll see what
they
happens.
will. I'm sure they will. But
But I think fundamentally it'll always come back up.
Yeah.
Because of we're Britain, and because we're in a small island. And
how arrogant does that sound? It's going to come because we're Britain. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it is. We're
Britain.
It's
That's
not
it.
arrogant. It's fact, isn't it? It's not arrogant.
This is coming from a Scottish guy.
We
as well,
live
don't
in
we?
an island where people are always going to want to live here. We cannot,
Always going to want to live here.
We cannot make our island bigger. Look at the way the population has grown over the last 10 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the population's not going to stop. It's going to keep getting bigger. They all need somewhere to live. So yes, house prices might dip after Brexit. But I dare say they're going to come back.
Yeah,
But it's
population
interesting.
getting bigger is great.
It's interesting that it's gone up 5.9%. That's pretty surreal.
I know, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Right, it's now time for this. Okay, so first question has come in from Mr. Graham Poole. What up, Graham? So this is his question. I'm going to paraphrase it because just to make it a little bit easier, but you can answer it.
Yep.
So if you've got a great credit score, you've got money, but they're tied up in 2 or 3 deals that are going through, and you've got a property with no mortgage, would you remortgage your property to do an extra deal now, or would you just wait until after your 2 or 3 deals had gone through? And if you did remortgage, would that affect your credit score?
Okay, so from what I'm understanding, you've got a house with no mortgage, you've got 3 property deals going through, you've got excellent credit, and you're looking to buy a 4th deal. I personally, if it was me, would wait until them 3 deals have completed. and then try and it depends what sort of deals they. If they're buy, refurbish, refinance, you might be able to pull some money out of them deals.
So it depends a bit on the deals.
Depends a little bit on the deals, but I personally
If they
get
if
three
they
done.
weren't, if they were just a case of put your money in and leave your money in, then would you?
Yeah, then I would. Yeah, depends on the deals, Graham.
He says he would, right? But have you remortgaged your house?
Oh, man, we're still going about that. Right, so yeah, what I would do is if they're buy, refurbish, refinance, you can get some money out. I would wait, get your money out, and then use that for the next deal. If they'll just put your money in and sit them and sit
it
and
doesn't
wait.
affect your credit score, does it?
It will do, yeah, of course it will.
It won't give you bad credit though, will it?
Well, no, it will affect your credit score because you'll have a credit search. So whenever you have a credit search, it drops your score. And it'll be a hard search as well because it's through lending. So yes, it will affect your credit score.
It's not going to give you a bad.
It's not going to give you a bad credit score. It's going to affect your credit score. So it will dip your credit score for 6 months. It will gradually come back. So whenever you have a hard credit search on your credit report, it drops you down by for instance, on Experian, it's about 30 points. And it stays down until.
Do you think that's a stupid rule?
Yeah, I do, because but I get why they do it. It's for people that are continually looking for loans.
Yeah, but if they're not taking the loans, just having the check done, like, why does that affect your scoring? It's stupid.
It shows that you're a little bit irresponsible with money.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I remember
Doesn't it show that you're just a clever leverager?
No.
Doesn't it show you're responsible money by not paying a loan back? Am I missing something here?
No. Okay. I remember from the eyes of the lender, it looks like you can't manage your money and you continually have to borrow money because they don't know what the purpose of that loan is, really, do they? So it looks like they continually have to borrow money. So, for instance, if you do 3 or 4 credit checks today, apply for 3 or 4 loans, and you get declined.
Do you know what? We're not going to change it, are we?
No, we're not. So why are we talking about it?
Yeah,
exactly. So anyway, yeah, it will affect your credit score. Personally, I would get the 3 deals done and then get them settled and then sort it out. But
or at least one of them.
Yeah.
Next question.
Thank
you, Graham.
Good job, Graham. I hope. Right. So Stuart.
Hey, Stuart.
Stuart Runnycar. Alistair, when you first started deal packaging, did you include and pay for surveys on properties in your deal? Or was it little less in depth than that? Answer that is no, if the surveys were responsibility of the buyer. So that answers that question.
But you just look over it, give it a general...
Yeah, when we do the inspections on them, we do go quite in depth. And then once the buyer says he wants to go ahead, he'll then go through the mortgage process and the mortgage company will survey the property at their cost.
Can I read the next one?
Yeah, man.
Just because, which one is it? That one?
Yeah.
Richard Arblaster.
Mm-hmm.
What a cool surname.
Arblaster.
Yeah.
Sounds like a children's toy, isn't it?
Is it
Arblaster?
Is it Arblaster or Arblaster?
I don't know, man, but it sounds like a children's toy, like gun type thing.
Yeah.
Like a super soaker.
Arblaster.
Awesome, man. Love that surname.
Such a cool name. Anyway, this could be a brand new JV for you both. Hair restoration products.
Hang on a minute. Has he got any hair?
No. So he's taking the mick when he hasn't got any hair. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks.
Richard. We really. No, in all seriousness, I do. He's a good commenter on our
is.
So thank you for tuning in, Richard.
He does follow.
And we will allow you to take the pee out of our hair every now and again. Well,
You're
not my hair,
welcome
but our stairs hair. Go ahead as much as you want. Okay, next, Thomas Twirrell Parr. Afternoon, guys. Doing a great job as usual. Thank you, Thomas. After spending months and months educating myself, going to the crash course, reading the books, watching the videos, looking into property sourcing, trading, LOA, R2R, SA, HMO, BRR, AS, all the acronyms coming out. Is it an acronym? Yeah, coming out there. And now I'm learning about SSAS and SIPP. My question. This was just a statement. Thanks, Thomas. My question. Can I ask how you see SAAS helping the property investor in the future? Do you think this is something we will all be looking into as part of our strategy to creating and keeping wealth? Thanks, T. I'm asking you.
Oh, right. You have to start again, man. That was like ridiculously long. What is the actual question?
Yeah, this is the question. Okay. Can I ask how you see SSAS
SAS
helping the property investor in the future?
It's not something I'm 100% familiar with because it's. I'm sure SaaS is linked to pensions. So you need to speak to somebody that's actually pretty clued up on that. Probably Andrew Clothier at Regency Court Financial can advise on that, I would say.
Do you think this is something we'll be looking into as part of our strategy to creating and keeping wealth?
I would assume so, yeah. Well, of course it is, because if you, it's all about releasing your pension, but I'm sure you can only use that for commercial properties. You can't use it for residential. You speak to a mortgage broker, Thomas. I'd love to advise you, but I don't know enough about it. So I'm happy to admit I'm wrong.
Have you got a pension?
I don't know. Me, no, I have pensions. I don't have a pension, official pension. My pensions are houses, mate.
You heard it here first. His pensions.
Have you got pension?
Houses. I think I do. Now, I've never really been interested in pensions because I'm going to live forever. No, I've never really been interested in pensions because, do you know, when you're in your 20s, you probably won't relate to this. You won't remember, but when you're in your 20s, you don't think about
such a killjoy.
Killjoy? Who? Thomas?
No, you're such a killjoy.
Oh, I'm a killjoy. Are you a killjoy?
I'm not.
Killjoy? Come on. So, I forgot my point now.
Talking about pensions when you're in your 20s.
That was it. Memory. I was just rubbing it in. I'm actually now 30, so
I know you are.
I know. So I think I might have one through work, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not really that interested. I'd rather, like you, just buy houses.
It's too complicated.
And the thing is that you never know when they're going to change the rules.
Yeah.
We did have like an accounts guy come in looking. He was going, pensions. And I was just like, okay.
Maybe he gets commission from a pension company. Maybe. That's why he's promoting it.
Maybe I'll probably do it. I'll probably look into it at some point when I grow up.
What? You're 30, man. Right, okay, move on. That question was good. But Thomas, speak to mortgage broker, man. I'm sure they can advise. Andrew Clothier at Regency, I know he deals a lot with SaaS pensions and also like creative sort of ways of raising finance.
I don't think we answered your question very well, Thomas. So I do apologise for that. I'm in such a strange mood today.
We'd rather waffle for a minute than give you the wrong answer. So at least you got comical value.
And Alicia Adams.
Do you know who Alicia is?
No.
Alicia's the American lady.
She's
lovely. Yeah, that's Alicia. Do you know the American lady?
Hey, I know Alicia.
Yeah.
I didn't realise.
Full of life,
yeah,
she is.
She's amazing. Hello, Alicia. Okay, thoughts on having existing rent-to-rent contracts and then moving outside of the UK? Using a management to handle the properties. Not sure I'm looking for how the landlord will feel about that. Okay, I wouldn't tell the landlord.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell the landlord because they'll get a bit... but they don't need to know, do they? If you're paying your rent and you've got a management company looking after it, I don't see why they're that fast.
What I would say is, I mean, I'm glad, good question actually. It's very linked to what we were talking. I'm assuming you're doing them as service accommodation. Yeah. We were talking about service accommodation being a passive income or not. So this would be a brilliant test for. I mean, for me, it totally is passive. In all fairness, but I'm in a very fortunate position where I've got staff.
You got a lot of staff around.
So any management company, I can just go speak to Abby.
Yeah, and Abby will sort it out.
So it's a bit of an unrealistic situation, but it'd be very interesting to see how you get on with that. I would say yes, you can do, but now make sure that you get it set up right so that they're not relying on you. They can still phone you, of course, if they've got any urgent things, like if anything's replacing, but you'll need a good manager who can look after that. And
ultimately, it comes down to having a fantastic management company, somebody that can essentially be you when you're not there.
Yeah.
There is a couple of companies we could recommend, but I'm not going to. I met a couple of really good guys actually. I can recommend it if you want. I met a couple of really good guys at the last crash course who are doing very good things in SA at the minute for management.
But, I mean, places like the crash course is a great place to meet these sort of people.
They were at the crash course as delegates, and they manage properties all over the country, and they're very good. So
Nick is like looking furious at that plate clattering going on in the background. His face is like thunder.
Sorry guys,
we've got shaking his head.
Bit of a technical sound problem going on because the people in the kitchen next door are making too much noise.
They have. Oh no, they haven't stopped. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. We'll finish the show. Right, this has been. I don't know. I'm in such a strange mood. I do apologise for this week's show.
We'll make it up next week, guys.
No, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of it. Tune in next week. Hopefully, Alistair will be a bit more normal next week, and we'll see you there. Tune in Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. See you next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.